Hello, everyone. This is MMA Interesting Prospects podcast. Today, our guest is Jack Congdon, who will be fighting for Cage Titans welterweight title on Cage Titans 62. Hello, Jack. How are you?
Good, yourself?
I'm good, thanks. Jack, you will be fighting against Pat Casey. I believe that it's the toughest opponents of your career. So, if you can tell me, what do you think about this opponent and overall how your camp is going?
Yeah, for sure he's going to be the toughest guy that I've fought so far. You know, he's battle tested. He's a vet, ton of experience. Fought up in Bellator, had some success there. Very physically powerful guy. Very tough. So it's a good matchup. It's a good test to see where I'm at. But camp's been good, and I'm fully confident that I'm going to come out there with the belt by any means necessary.
And you are a finisher because you finished all of your opponents except one as the amateur in the first round. So
Yeah.
is it also a plan for this fight to finish your opponent quickly, or you like have in mind that it can be because it's a toughest opponent, it can be like a little bit longer fight?
My mindset is kind of just to flow with however the fight goes. You know, I'm going to push the pace. I'm going to establish myself. I'm going to take control in there. And as that happens, you know, damage is going to accumulate. More and more openings are going to present themselves. And when they do, then I'll take advantage of it. So, you know, there's no rush to get it done quick. It's just been the case with my other opponents that those opportunities have presented themselves, and I've taken advantage of them. So that's always been my game plan. The goal is always to go out there and get the finish, but whenever it happens is not quite as important.
And you are on the top of the card. You are a main event, and overall, this card is very good. It has Mitch Raposo, for example, a very good flyweight fighter, or Gerald Muse, who is also an undefeated prospect. So I think that also for your confidence, it can give you a little bit like boost to fight in the main event.
Yeah, it's cool. I think on Tapology they got me listed as the main event, but if you go at the Cage Titans website, Mitch and his opponent are the main event, so they're going to be the last fight. But either way, yes, it's very cool to be co-maining and to be at this spot this early in my career.
And after this fight, do you have any opponent in mind that you would like to defend the title against?
No, we got to focus on Pat. We got to get past Pat first.
And if you can tell me a little bit about your beginnings in the sport, when did you start MMA training, and did you have a base in other combat sport?
Yeah, so when I was a little kid, I was like 8 years old. I had way too much energy, and like I was always causing trouble, like painting my parents' neck, like climbing up trees and stuff like that. You know, they're losing track of me. So they put me into martial arts, specifically Taekwondo and Nogi Jiu-Jitsu, to give me something that was like that would discipline me, that would keep me focused, that I could spend my energy towards. And you know, I always loved it. I've been doing it since then. I even still train at the gym that I started at when I was a little kid. You know, so Lakeville MMA is where I started, and I'm still getting in there a couple of days a week. So yeah, I have those Taekwondo roots, and you know, I've kind of adapted them towards MMA. And I think it's a really good base because you get really good striking. You get used to being in and out and not getting hit, which is huge in MMA with small gloves. It gives you kicks that a lot of people don't have. And yeah, and you have a much different range and tempo than most people are used to. So I think it's a big part of my style. And yeah, definitely very lucky that I got in that young. In terms of when I started training MMA, it became more like MMA style when I was like a teenager and I moved into like the kind of like adult class. But then when I started like specifically training to fight, was when I got out of college, 2019. So I've been training and fighting since then with MMA more in mind.
And like watching your fights, like the striking is the main thing that the fans can look at, and for now it's like unbeatable. Of course, the like level of opposition is going up, because even your last opponent it was better than the previous one, and then the next one would be the best of all. So I think that also it would be a good chance for you to show your striking level on the highest level of the opposition.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm just a striker. Like I can grapple too. So wherever the fight goes, I'm perfectly comfortable. I've got a couple of subs and a ground and pound finish as well. So if it goes there, I'm perfectly happy. I just think my striking is going to be too much for most guys to deal with across the board. So um, yeah, that is where I think I have the biggest advantage on most guys. And so tactically speaking, that's where you're gonna take the fight. But you can never have too rigid of a game plan in mind or anything like that. So like I said, if it winds up on the ground, then I'm perfectly comfortable there, and I'm gonna seek to finish there as well.
You are training and in Lakeville MMA, and overall there are two schools of thoughts. One is that the best thing is to train at your local gym, that you have like that your coaches know you the best, and the second school of thought is going to bigger camp, that you have like much more sparring partners, but also that you are not like the most important fighter. So what do you think is the biggest advantage of training mainly in a smaller gym?
Yeah, so I cross train at a bunch of places. So my thing is kind of like I'll go to like a kickboxing gym for kickboxing, a jujitsu gym for jujitsu, and then I go to Lakeville MMA. We kind of blend everything together, and same thing with Lozon MMA. We do cross training there, and everybody gets rounds in together. So I'm kind of like a blend of those two things, where I'm going to all these different places that specialize in different things. But it's not like a super gym up here in New England. It's definitely great, and it's a huge advantage to get the individualized attention at the smaller places. And I feel like I've gotten much better, much faster because of that. It's tough to say, like, because I haven't gone and done a camp or trained at these super gyms, so it's tough for me to really compare. But I know personally that like training with a bunch of smaller gyms and coaches that do know me, they kind of get to know your style, and they know what works for you, and they care about your camp and you're succeeding. um Whereas like sometimes with the bigger camps, again, I haven't been there, but it does seem like a lot of the guys kind of have the same style. Like you kind of know what a guy is going to do out of this super camp or that, um, and you kind of have to fit that mold. From the outside, it seems that way. But like I said, I haven't done both to be able to fully compare, but having the personalized attention is great.
And do you think about going to the middleweight division in next few years, or you prefer to stay at welterweight for a like longer period of time?
Nah, the weight cut's not so terrible for me. I'm definitely a really big welterweight. But even when I'm out of camp and I'm not being well behaved and I'm not on the diet, I don't really get much over 200 pounds. I kind of naturally stay lean because I'm always training, and I'm big into health anyways, so I kind of won't feel good if I get over 200 pounds. So my body and my mind just don't really allow it. And then once I'm locked in on camp, I know what to do to get down to the weight that I need to cut to 170. So no, I think my immediate future is for sure at 170. I got the frame to fill out to 85 if later on down the road it gets to that point. But yeah, 170 is home right now.
And right now you are 3-0. Probably in 2 weeks you will be 4-0. And when you're thinking about your career, when would you be? When would do you think would be the best time for you to go to one of the best, biggest promotions, especially the UFC?
Yeah, my goal is win this fight, and then I want to fight twice in the first half of next year to ideally get to 6-0, and then be looking at a contender series shot sometime late summer in the fall. So uh, in a perfect world, that is my plan. That is kind of like the path forward for me. Especially because as an amateur, I won the title and defended the title, fought the toughest guys in the region. And then, I intend to do the same, and I will do the same here as a professional. So I'll get the belt, fight a couple of tough guys, and then be ready once I've cleared out the regional scene to get to the higher level in the UFC.
And this year Contender Series showed that if you are a very good prospect and you will win the fight on the show, you are like there is a really big chance to be signed to the UFC. So I think that you actually there is a possibility that you will win like 3 or 4 more fights and then you will get a contract. Especially that in the Contender Series there are really good fighters. So I think that you would be a perfect fit for this, especially that you have this fine fan-friendly style. So you are going for the finish. So it's not like your fights are not boring, but you have like great finishing ability. So I think that it would be a perfect place for you.
Yeah, much appreciated. And yeah, I mean, Dana's always saying, especially on a Contender Series, we want guys that are finishers. Like we don't, even if you win a fight, if you're just hugging the guy the whole time, he doesn't care. You're not going to get signed. You got to be trying to win the fight.
And do you have a fighter like let's say that right now is in the UFC, and you think that you would like to face him in your first bout in the UFC?
I don't really know about my first fight. Um, my dream fight, coming from the Taekwondo background, is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. But you know, obviously he's not gonna fight me in my first fight, even if I have like a cool Taekwondo style. I'd have to build my way up. And fingers crossed, he's still fighting in a couple of years when I do see myself at the top of the division. And that'd be an awesome fight. Two guys with traditional martial arts styles. But he's like, I think he's around 40 now, so we'll see. But that is the dream fight.
And is he your favorite fighter from welterweight division?
At welterweight, yeah. His striking is awesome. Yeah.
And do you like watching UFC fights or overall MMA fights?
To be honest, I just watched the UFC. Like obviously I watch the local cards when my teammates are on it, but you know, the PFL's format with the playoffs is kind of weird. I never really got into it. And Bellator just doesn't like I don't see it marketed much. UFC is on pretty much every weekend. So that's what I'm tuning in for. And they kind of exude, the prestige that they are the number one organization. So I always like watching MMA, but it just kind of turns out that I just watch the UFC.
And what's your opinion right now for as the state of welterweight division? Because we have a Leon Edwards who is a champion. He will be fighting Colby Covington. So what do you think about this fight, and what should be next for the winner?
I mean, I like. I've got to pick Edwards. I think if he could stop Usman's wrestling, he can stop Covington's wrestling, and he's a better striker than Covington for sure. It's going to be tough though because Covington's pace is ridiculous, and he is a good wrestler. And Edwards was able to stop Usman's wrestling in the third fight. Right, the first two fights he couldn't. So it may very well be that, Covington gets him. That being said, I'll stick with my pick of Edwards. And man, who's next for him is tough. Like the division isn't really in great shape. Yeah, like I don't think Edwards wants to take the fight with Bilal. Right. He already kind of fought him, and he's openly said he's not really interested in it. Bilal's not really a needle moving guy because of his style. Man, who else is in the top 10? Like Burns is hurt, and he just lost to Bilal. I mean, if Shavkat beats Wonder Boy, he could get in the mix, but he's still not a huge name, you know. There are definitely some good prospects coming down the road, but yeah, that top five is just kind of weird right now, especially because Usman, he went and lost two in a row to Edwards, so that rematch is not going to happen anyways. And then he just went up to middleweight and lost, so it's welterweight's in a weird spot.
Yes, and I think that because of that, the fighters like Ian Gary can like go up quite quickly, and he may fight in, let's say, next year for the title because he's a little bit of personality, and of course he's undefeated in the UFC. So I think that UFC can want to push him.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, they definitely like him. The only thing is, I feel like I've seen him say in interviews that he wants to fight like four more times or something like that before he gets a championship fight, which maybe once the UFC pushes him forward and he sees the contract money and the opportunity, he'll change his mind.
And getting back to you, because you are like fighting for a few years now, what is the biggest motivation for you for both training MMA and fighting MMA?
For me, it's just I want to be able to make it my lifestyle. It's a sport I've loved since I was a kid. Right now I work full time too, and then I train on top of that. So I want to make it my lifestyle. I want to be the best martial artist that I can be because I believe it'll make me the best person that I can be. And spread the message of martial arts to as many people as I can, and in hopes that it betters them. And yeah, and then on top of being the best martial artist that I can be, I believe that if I am the best that I can be, that I can work my way up and become a world champion off that. So that's far out for now. I've got a long road to get there, but that is the long-term goal.
And it's like a little bit like dream scenario. But if you can pick any tools from any fighter in the world from MMA, what would you like to pick and add to your current skill set?
Tools like techniques.
Yes.
Okay. That's a good question. I'm very confident in my striking. There's always room to improve. But if I could have Charles Oliveira's submission game, I mean, the second he goes to the ground with people, it's lights out. Obviously, except for Makhachev. But Oliveira is just so slick in comparison. Makhachev is obviously, he's a great wrestler and he's got good submissions, but he's got that Dagestani he's so strong, and he I wouldn't say he brute forces his way through them because there's technique, but Oliveira is just so slick. I love his submission skills on the ground.
And he is one of only few who is super dangerous from his back, because like in 2023 it's hard to submit someone from your back, but Charles Oliveira or let's say Paul Craig are one of the only guys who are super dangerous. And even if you are on the top, you can still be like submitted in 1 second.
Exactly right. I don't see Makhachev doing that. I could be wrong, and he could have that ace up his sleeve. but yeah, guys like Oliveira and Craig have proved it over and over again that you're just never safe with them on the ground.
And how do you deal with this stress before your fights? Because right now you are in let's say training camp for the biggest fight of your career. So how do you deal with the like overall stress?
You just keep going. There's gonna be stress. Physical, mental, just workload. Um, but you just keep going through it. You just keep grinding. Um, I've been doing breathing exercises a lot more, and that helps get my mind in the right place. That helps a lot. Um, but just accepting that that's going to be part of it. You have to feel it. You should be stressed out. You should be tired at this point in camp. That's part of the job. But when the night of the fight actually comes, I'm so laser focused and so ready that there isn't really that stress the night of. It's just all focus, all ready to go, calm, excited, and feeling good. So knowing I'm going to peak like that too, that helps. Like this part is all temporary. It'll all come and go. So keeping your mindset bigger and not on the small things. Just continuing to move forward.
And a few hours before the fight, do you like to listen to the music or like just zone out, or you prefer to be with your thoughts and like be focused on your head?
I really don't listen to music. I just focus on I keep in my head. I try to be like very in tune with the environment around me, like just taking in all the details, taking in the atmosphere. Um, yeah, just being present. That kind of calms me down more than adding more stimulus or having music or anything. And on top of that, it's kind of like you're not going to have anything outside of yourself when you're in the cage and you're fighting. So prepare yourself by yourself, not with any external stimulus beforehand. That's kind of my mindset with it.
And do you have any passion or hobby besides fighting?
Um, Honestly, in terms of hobbies, like MMA takes up all my time. Yeah, like I said, I work full time and then I train, so I don't really have time for any other hobbies. Um, I would love to learn to play the guitar, though. Yeah, I love the guitar, so I'm hoping I get a little more free time, and that's something that I'd really love to learn.
So it can be one of the things from the bucket list because I think that this is a good thing to have this kind of list that you can like learn something and accomplish it.
Yeah, it's always good to be learning new things. Yeah, to be bad at something and then to have to work your way up again. Um, yeah, and it's good for the mind to do different things and to not always be in the same routine.
And I have two last questions. It's also outside of fighting. Do you have some kind of irrational fear?
Like a fear outside of fighting.
Yeah, yes.
Um, Not really that I can think of off the top of my head. Um, yeah, like most things, I feel like probably as a result of fighting and going through this process, don't really uh, scare me as much. Like the amount of like stimulation or anything to get a reaction out of me and to make me not calm. Like after having done now 8 fights is like, yeah, I've been through those and I've learned to stay calm in those. So things don't scare me. Like I'm not really scared of like any animals or like bugs or anything like that. Like so I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. Like yeah, I'm usually pretty level-headed.
And the last one, if you have to do a 30-minute presentation, but without any preparation of about any topic, what topic can you talk about for 30 minutes?
30 minutes. Not MMA related. Um, you know, the first thing that comes to my mind, and not very exciting at all, but you know, I've said like I work full time, right? Um, and I'm a financial analyst at a food distribution company, so I'm behind a computer all day. Um, I could run through Excel, and I wouldn't want to talk about it for 30 minutes, but I could probably teach Excel classes now if I wanted to after this. Yeah, like finance stuff, economics, the market. Um, I've got to be kind of into it, you know, for the job. I'm not super passionate, definitely not about Excel. Not there's no passion in Excel. You know, finance and the market are interesting, but MMA is the passion. But yeah, you know, because of the job, I've gotta kind of have that in my mind and be able to talk about that, right?
Yes, but Excel is the one of the tools that probably most people need to know. So I think that in the end of the day, it would be a useful thing.
Yes, yeah. I mean, even in like MMA, like it helps with like keeping track of like ticket sales and my weight. Like I've got like a whole file like for every fight camp, like tracking my weight, tracking tickets, like all those sorts of things, like yeah, kind of as my own like mini business, you know. So it's yeah, it's practical.
Okay, Jack. So many thanks for the conversation. I hope that you will be successful in this title fight, and later next year we can see you in the Contender Series, and of course the winning UFC contract.
Yes, sir. That's the goal.